Hi everyone, it's Paul from This Design That. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of a vlog. I haven't posted in a few months and I just kind of want to keep you all updated as to what has been going on. So it's certainly been a busy few months. The reason why I haven't been posting too much is, as I'm sure all of you know, with the current economic climate, especially here in the UK, it's a little bit hard to justify spending the money on some of the builds that I did have planned for this year. I'm trying to kind of rein in my spending on this channel. It does mean that obviously some of the projects had to be put on hold, but I've kind of gone over my budget, so to speak, and I've allocated some money. So the last few weeks I've kind of been going back into the planning stage of some of these projects that I wanted to make over 2022. And previously I kind of felt that it was maybe better to make sure that I've got, a video posted every single week or something like that. But honestly, I do believe in kind of quality over quantity. If I'm not doing much, I haven't really got much to kind of talk about, I don't really feel the need to post. So that's kind of why it's been a little bit quiet. But anyway, what I've been up to, a few weeks ago, I finished a 6-day fast. So for that week, I did absolutely nothing. I was completely unproductive. I really do like eating. It's kind of like a big part of my day. When I can't eat, it just kind of makes, for me, the day just feel a little bit pointless. And I really just want to get the day over and done with so I can finish my fast and I can start eating again. So I was really unproductive a few weeks ago. I've been doing fasting for quite a few years now. I generally do intermittent fasting every single day. My partner Lakshmi, she does near enough 1 meal a day for, she's been doing it for years now. I do intermittent fasting, which basically means just skipping breakfast. Maybe a few times a year I'll do like a 24-hour or 48-hour fast, and then once a year, every single year, for the last 3 years running now, I kind of set myself basically a 5 to 7 day fast, and that's just to try and clear out all of the crap that's in your body. Basically, I'm trying to get my body into autophagy, which is a kind of like a self-cleaning, a self-repair state that your cells go into. I won't bore you with the details, but if you're interested in health and longevity and things like that, research fasting. It's a very interesting kind of state to be in, especially if you're used to eating all the time. Some people say that it's it's kind of like an amazing experience. They feel this kind of amazing clarity, and I did feel a little bit sharper in the mind once you get into like day 3 or 4, but generally for me it's pretty miserable. It's not really energy, as I said, it's more just like I just really enjoy eating. It's kind of like really my only drug, so to speak. I don't do drugs, I don't drink, I don't smoke. Food is kind of like the one thing that I get to do every single day that is just really nice. I really do enjoy eating. I don't really enjoy cooking, but once I've cooked my meal and I get to eat it, it's really good. Anyway, that's enough about fasting. Last week, I was very busy making a book for my mum's birthday. She recently celebrated her 70th birthday. We went and spent a weekend with my mum and dad. In preparation for that, I was kind of making this like big present, which was like a handmade book, just like a little photo album of kind of all of the nice things and memories that she's had over the last few years. Going on trips and kind of like being with family and events and stuff like that with friends. And it was pretty cool to make a book again. I haven't made a book for quite a few years. Probably university was the last time that I actually made a book. And it was good that I actually finally got to use my book press. It come in very handy when I was making that. I did perfect binding, and then I made the book cloth covers. It turned out really nice. One of the issues that I did have though was trimming the books. I tried to trim the book with a scalpel. That is all I had. I thought I completely ruined the book. You can see from these images, the pages were just all over the place. I don't have a guillotine. I got a trimmer, but you can't really kind of obviously just trim a whole entire book. So I did lots of research and I was trying to find a DIY way to trim a book. And someone on Reddit said that you can try it like a sander, an orbital sander. So I was amazed that this actually works, but I wedged it in between 2 bits of wood. I got my D-Wall orbital sander, run it up and down, and you can see from this image, it creates a pretty clean edge. I managed to salvage this photo book, thankfully, because I didn't have really any spare time to print all of the pages and do all the binding again. It has made me want to finish a project that I was planning in 2022. I really want to get it done, and it is a book plough. These are kind of like the old school ways of trimming books. If you Google book plough, you'll see what I'm talking about. I was thinking of just maybe buying a guillotine, which is probably going to be a quicker and easier thing to have around. But I really like my book press. I do like the traditional bookbinding tools. I do want to make some traditional bookbinding vices and laying presses and things like that in the future as well. So I thought I might as well make a book press to kind of go with this with all of this other bookbinding equipment that I'm planning to make. So that is going to be probably one of the next big projects that I'm going to be working on again. I've got a few bits and pieces, some of the tools, some of the materials to make it, and I'm going to start sketching up some things in Fusion 360 for that. This is going to sound completely random as well, but I recently got a new kitchen knife, and I've kind of really got into sharpening. I've always wanted to learn sharpening, especially when it comes to woodworking, being able to sharpen chisels and those type of things. Even though I don't do woodworking, I know it's a skill that I'm going to want to have in the future. But also for when you do stuff like lino printing, you know, you can sharpen your lino cutting tools and your chisels and those type of things. I recently got a Whetstone, and I was sharpening one of my kitchen knives. Yeah, it's just really cool to be able to sharpen knives. This knife that I bought was, I think it's a Victorinox, I think that's the brand. It's just like a basic chef's knife. It's only like £30, but it is razor sharp. And I've been cutting, I cook every single day. I cut up a lot of vegetables. I've been cutting with basically a blunt knife all this time, and cutting with this new knife, it just goes through everything like butter. So being able to kind of keep that sharp is a really nice new skill that I've recently learned. And it did come in handy because at my parents' house, they've got like 4 little kind of like dwarf apple trees. One of their trees has just produced a huge amount of apples, and I picked like a sack full of apples because I like apple compote with my yogurt. So yeah, I've got probably, I'm guessing, like 10 kilograms of apples in my kitchen that I need to cut up and make some apple compote with. Another project that I've got is for my Drift Deeper stream that I host every single other Sunday on my Drift Deeper channel. It's kind of like a live DJ show that I do. I've kind of like slowly improved the stream and the quality of the stream. We've got a new camera to do the streaming with. I've got some lights and bits and pieces, but there's always like a side of a wall in my living room that's got shelves and it's got plants on it, which is always just a little bit dark, and I don't know, it doesn't kind of look nicely lit up. So I was looking at ways to kind of illuminate that, and you can get like practical lighting, you can get like LED tubes. I've seen them from Godox and other brands, but they're like £100 to £200 each for one of these LED tubes that are like battery powered. It's kind of like a little lightsaber that you can use. The problem with those is that the batteries don't last for like 2.5 hours, which is usually how long my shows go on for. And they're really expensive. I mean, I've got 3 shelves there and other shelves as well. And that would cost, 500, close to 1,000 if I wanted to put tubes in every single one of those. I was doing research, and basically I'm going to build my own LED kind of like tubes. I'm going to wire them up to the mains. And I got some really nice, high quality RGB CCT LEDs coming from China, from AliExpress. They are like half the price of the LEDs that you can get in the UK. And I'm going to get some aluminium extrusion, I'm going to get some diffuser, and I'm going to hopefully wire it up without killing myself. I'm absolutely useless with electronics. And if you have watched any of my Drift Deeper streams, you may have noticed a little white cat in them. I get asked this a few times on my Drift Deeper channel. It's a neighbour's cat, but it just absolutely loves our garden, and it loves just being indoors at night time on our sofa. I thought it was a stray cat for ages, because it was just day and night, it was just in our garden all the time. Thankfully, we did find out that it did actually have an owner, and basically it just turns out it's just an outdoor cat. Basically, it likes to be in our garden. I think the owner's got other cats. They always fight with each other. So I think that's why this cat likes its own little space in our garden. But yeah, I kind of like befriended it in the last like year or a little bit over a year now, I think. So you may see a white cat walking around in some of my videos. Her name is Missy, and yeah, she's a little adorable snowball. Now the weather in the UK over the last few weeks has been really hot. We've had some heat waves here in the UK. Recently I got a smart electric meter installed, so you can see how much electricity you're using, which is really cool, and it made me a lot more conscious of how much energy I'm spending in the things that I do, and also just day to day, like how much leaving your computer screens on, for instance, costs. They're really good smart meters. They really do kind of help you to cut down on electricity. Recently I've been screen printing the new releases for Natural Expressions. We've got the 9th cassette. You can see they're all drying up here on my rack. Usually I use the vacuum because it's a vacuum screen printing table. I didn't want to use the vacuum when I was printing these because it pumps out a lot of heat and it uses a lot of electricity, and you've got a vacuum cleaner running for like an hour. That probably costs a good couple of quid. So I use these, you've probably seen them when people do like printmaking, these tabs. You get registration pins, and then you can just pin up your work onto the table and you position every single time. I am able to get better registration using this method than I am a vacuum table. Vacuum table, sometimes it can budge a little bit. This has just been absolutely spot on every single time. And I think that looking forward, I don't think I'm actually going to be using this vacuum table with a vacuum. I'm much more kind of conscious of how much energy I'm using when I'm doing all these type of things. And screen printing isn't the most environmentally friendly process. It does look amazing, but at the end of the day, you could just maybe use an inkjet printer and print it. But I know you can't, you can't use the inks and all that type of stuff. That's my argument. Anything I can do to try and make the process a little bit more environmentally friendly, the better. So not having a vacuum cleaner on when I'm doing these prints is really good. So if anyone is thinking about getting into screen printing, and like me, I was coming from doing screen printing in a university, and they've got huge vacuum tables. So when I come into this house, I was thinking I want to do screen printing again. That's all I knew. Therefore, I thought I have to build a vacuum table, and that's why I built this huge vacuum table here. You don't need that. I could have got away with a tiny little A2 bit of wood. I could have used these registration pins. It does take a little bit more time because you've got to kind of stick these on every single bit of paper. But once you've done it, for the layers, you're just sorted. It registers absolutely perfectly. So this is what I've been working on the last few weeks. And I've printed all the layers now. I've got the cassette sleeves here. And because I've been able to get the registration so good on the screen printed layers, I'm adding some foil here. I'm not sure if you can see it, but basically I've got some foil stripes here, and there's going to be some here. Now this is by far the most kind of complicated bit of registration I've done with foiling. Usually I do not like to register the foil with other elements, because when you're moving from screen print to foil, the platen press that I've got for that foil printer, it's very difficult to align things basically. It's not like on a table where I can lay it down, I can look over it and align it. Platen press is coming down at like that kind of angle. You've got to kind of look over it and align it. It's a bit of a pain in the ass. I recently found out that actually you can foil onto a bit of film positive that I use for the transparencies for screen printing. You can use the same method that you do with screen printing, where you screen print onto a transparent sheet, and then you lay that over your bit of paper and you can align it. And you can do that with a foil platen press. I'm really trying to get the registration absolutely spot on here with this orange line. And I'm not sure if you can see it, but you can see what I'm talking about. This foiling is getting kind of split by this orange line here. This is really temperamental registration, but I'm going to give it a go. You can see this is one of like the test prints here. It kind of works. The registration is a little bit off, but I've learned to not get so stressed out about registration anymore and to just enjoy the process. If it comes out a little bit off, no one's going to notice. No one really cares apart from me, and I need to just learn that I'm doing this in a tiny little bedroom with, I guess, basic equipment. It's the best I can do. So I shouldn't be so hard on myself. I've just got to do a few more layers of foiling with these cassette sleeves, and then they're ready to go. Yeah, it should hopefully look pretty cool. So I'm just going through my notes. I wrote a load of things that I wanted to talk about. And the last thing is my CNC upgrades that I want to make, hopefully this year, but I've still got quite a lot of research to do with this. So you can see one of the things that I'm doing is I'm putting some panels on the CNC. Even though I've got the enclosure, I kind of just thought that would be enough. But the problem is that the chips still go everywhere in the enclosure. Everything gets covered in chips, and it gets behind the machine where it's a little bit harder to access. Yeah, I'm just putting these clear perspex panels around the edges as well here, just to hopefully contain the chips within this, and it's just easier to vacuum. I made an absolute mess trying to drill holes into this perspex. Basically, I stacked the sheets together and I drilled it, and the drill bit went through the first one, but once it gets to the second, it just kind of like pulls it up and snaps it. So unfortunately, one of these sheets is all snapped up, and it should hopefully do. I've just got it kind of coming out a little bit here, and I need to 3D print some sort of like shelf for this bit here because I forgot to order a bit of perspex for this underside here. And the reason why I've got it coming out is because obviously the spindle is kind of coming away from the actual from obviously the linear rails here, so it needs that little bit of extra clearance because it can actually move all the way over here, especially if you've got like a dust shoe on there or something like that. It does protrude quite a lot out this way, so that's why I've just extended it a little bit. One of the big things that I've been wanting to do with this CNC for quite a few years now is replace the electronics on it. I'm sure that anyone with a 60/40 or a 30/40, which is what this is, from China, knows that the electronics are absolutely garbage. This comes with like I think it's a cracked version of Mach 3 to use it with this Chinese controller. I really want to get away from it because it's buggy, it's got glitches in it. So for instance, if you home this machine and then you click on go to zero, your 0 point, it will always go -5mm in the Z axis, and it will just crash into your work. There's just nothing you can do about it. It's just little things like that. I've just been wanting to get away from Mach 3. It's no longer supported. So what I really want to do is I want to get an AXBB Ethernet controller from CNC Drive, and I would really like to switch over to UC CNC. It does mean that I've got to take apart this controller box down here. I'm really not good with electronics. I have no idea what I'm doing, and yeah, there's kind of a lot of kind of electrical components in this that I'm just really not sure how they're going to work. I don't think it's just going to be an easy kind of swap of the controller that's in here at the moment and swapping it in with AXBB. I know it's not, in fact, because the AXBB, I think it takes a 24 volt power supply, and that thing takes a 5 volt. So, I need to add a 24 volt power supply into this enclosure. I'm not even sure if I'm going to be able to make it all fit into this enclosure, so I think I might have to buy a new enclosure, which means I'm going to have to rewire the entire thing. It's just something I've been putting off for years, but over the last few weeks I've been trying to research it more and more just to kind of build up my knowledge, and hopefully I'm going to be able to tackle this at some point in this year. This is kind of like the big project that I'm working on. And then hopefully it just means that, there's going to be a lot more things that I can do with the CNC and with UC CNC as well, like the probing and that type of stuff. It's just going to help me to kind of accurately machine parts better, basically. And then the other thing that I would like to do with the CNC is the coolant. I'm still not totally happy with my Fogbuster setup. This DIY setup is definitely a lot better than kind of like the Lockline hoses that you see. But the problem is that in order for a Fogbuster to work, you really want to use a low PSI. It's kind of what it's made for. Really 1 to 2 PSI is all that you need. As I said in the Fogbuster build video, you really just kind of just pepper in a little bit of coolant onto the end mill to lubricate it and to help to evaporate heat. You're not really using that Fogbuster to propel a load of air to move a lot of chips out of the way. So really what I want is I would like to keep this Fogbuster setup that I've got, but then I would also like a secondary air line coming into this and it to be an air blast. I would like to kind of get some sort of solenoid set up, some sort of control panel where, and this is why I'm wanting to switch over to UC CNC, because I'm hoping that maybe I've got a little bit more finer control of perhaps when I can turn on and off the coolant, and I can use solenoids to maybe every single like 10 seconds, for instance, do like an air blast. That's kind of what I'm hoping to do with it. It still needs a little bit of refinement. This is going to be quite a big project to do, but I'm hoping like this year or maybe early next year I can get this thing sorted. But apart from that, the machine is really good mechanically. I think once I sort out the electronics, this machine is going to be much, much better. And lastly, with the CNC, I've just got hold of some Mighty Grip. This is the Generation 2 low temperature wax work holding stuff, which I saw it in their newsletter and I thought, wow, I've got to try that out, because obviously I do a lot of thin sheet stuff, especially when it comes to doing like foiling plates and engraving. I've never had very good success with masking tape. I know that it gets used a lot, but the problem is that when I'm using coolant and the job is like an hour, that coolant just soaks into the masking tape so many times it's come loose. What I'm using at the moment is Gorilla Tape, and it certainly does withhold the forces and the coolant. But yeah, I'm always interested in kind of newer technologies and work holding options. Yeah, this stuff looks like it's pretty cool. You can see I've got some of the red wax here. You basically just heat up your plate, and then you just wipe your wax on it. You just put your part down on it, and then you let it set. And I mean, you see some of the videos on their Instagram, how much force that this can hold. It is a lot. So I've got this part set up here. I'm just going to face it, just see how it holds up. It might be interesting. So I think that's pretty much everything that I wanted to share with you today in the vlog. If you've been working on any projects yourself, feel free to share them in the comments below. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I will catch you all later.